time is 5:30. I call this meeting of the City Commission to order. We rise for our invocation tonight by Marcy Bender.
Let us pray. Gracious Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for being able to be here this afternoon to do your business. Lord, we just pray that you will put the proper words into our mouth so that we can make the best decisions for our city. Lord, we ask special blessings upon our Special Olympics athletes, that they will be glorified in all their honorings of tonight. Lord, we give you praise and glory for all that happens in this great city. We pray all of this in your Son Jesus' name. Amen.
Join me in the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Gray and Commissioner Johnson will be joining us tonight by phone. We have a special Olympics recognition tonight with a video presentation.
Everybody can see the video.
This is Essie Featured. This is the power of sports.
This is my very first time competing in the World Games. I've always dreamed of being on Team USA. I can't believe this is really happening. This is like a dream come true. I'm going to go to LA. I want to go do my best, and hope I come back with gold.
It is 1,561 miles from Pittsburg, Kansas to Los Angeles, California. But that doesn't cover the scars across his body or the doubts along the way. To say it has taken 7 years for Chevy Peters to get here, to the grand stage of the 2015 Special Olympics World Games, is accurate, but incomplete.
Official weight is 55.1.
At 122 pounds, as a power lifter, the truth of his path isn't measured in years or counted in kilos. It's found in the bond between a selfless coach and a tireless competitor. Born in Parsons, Kansas, with a life-threatening liver condition, Chevy wasn't expected to live past his second birthday. He's endured 38 operations. And 9 years ago, at 22, he learned his kidneys were failing. Chevy had 2 choices of treatment: dialysis, or if able to find a donor, a kidney transplant. That donor was his brother.
I thank him for giving me his kidney and the gift of life. Without him, I don't know where I would be.
Even after the transplant, Chevy was struggling emotionally. Lonely, looking for direction, he met John Lair, the head coach of the New Hope Bulldogs, a Special Olympics team in Pittsburg, Kansas, in 2008.
He came into my office. He was about 93 pounds at the time, and he said, "Coach, I want to be a deadlifter."
The powerlifting team wasn't set to begin practice, and Chevy was at a low point in his life. The weight proved difficult.
Went through a major depression period, which I had, nobody to talk to, thought about not being here no more.
A month after his first meeting with Lair, Chevy tried to drive his car into oncoming traffic. After police found him in a park, an officer called Lair.
Chevy was at a local park talking about not being alive anymore. I just told him that, look at all you've been through, and your future is so bright. Let's set some goals in life. I said, your dreams can come true.
Hey,
A week later, Chevy came to the gym in Pittsburgh for the first time. From that day forward, he's never stopped lifting.
He likes to shock people on the numbers and how good he really is.
If you put your mind to it, the hard work and dedication, anything is possible.
Last August, Chevy was selected for the World Games in Los Angeles. For the past 11 months, he and Lair have trained together, twice a day, 6 days a week. All for this.
Well, you know how I feel about you. It's been a hell of a journey. I love you, and I'm so excited for you today. It's going to be a great day. I love you.
Love you too, Coach.
Surrounded by family and friends, Chevy came to LA to compete in 3 different lifts: squat, bench press, and deadlift. The ultimate prize is combination, a medal awarded for total weight lifted across all 3 disciplines. He started with squat, 259 pounds on the bar, more than twice his own weight.
Get it! Come on! Come on! Come on, Debbie! Come on! Come on!
He won gold. Next was his weakest category, bench press.
Let's go, big boy. Come on now. Come on now.
149 pounds lifted.
Good job.
He claimed silver. Even with a silver in bench, Chevy was in striking distance of a gold in combination. But he knew he needed to lift 325 pounds in deadlift, his last lift of the competition, his favorite.
Line up for gold, baby.
Come on now! One time!
Chevy made the lift, and with a total weight of 733 pounds, he won the combination title as well.
Winning the gold medal in triple combination, representing Special Olympic USA, Chevy Peters.
In all, Chevy Peters won 4 medals, 1 silver, 3 gold. In his weight class, he was the world champion. 4 medals, 2 men, 1 bond.
You all right? Okay, love you. Okay, love you.
A coach and a competitor, both lifted.
I have 3 proclamations tonight. All right. Have a proclamation. Whereas the 2015 Special Olympics World Summer Games were held from July 25th through August 2nd in Los Angeles, California. And whereas during the 2015 Special Olympic World Summer Games, approximately 6,500 Special Olympic athletes from 165 nations competed in 25 Olympic-type sports. And whereas the Pittsburgh New Hope Bulldogs were represented at the Special Olympics World Games by Chevy Peters, and whereas participating in powerlifting events, Chevy won gold medals in squat and deadlift, and a silver medal in bench press, making him a world champion with an overall gold in powerlifting. Whereas Chevy's gold medal winning deadlift was an amazing 325 pounds. And whereas overcoming numerous obstacles in life, Chevy is a true testament as to what can be achieved with hard work and dedication. Now, therefore, I, Chuck Mansell, Mayor of the City of Pittsburg, Kansas, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, August 11, 2015, as Chevy Peters Day in Pittsburg, and call upon all citizens to congratulate Chevy on his many accomplishments and wish him continued success. To our city.
Well, to the City Commission, not everybody, thank you for having us here. LA was a fun trip. As it's true, if you put your hard work and dedication to it, anything is possible.
Second proclamation. Whereas since 1968, the flame of hope has been a symbol of respect and inclusion carried with pride by Special Olympic athletes and law enforcement officers. And whereas today, 100,000 law enforcement members in all 50 states, 12 Canadian provinces, territories, and 44 other countries contribute to the law enforcement torch run efforts annually as guardians of the flame, ensuring the delivery of the Special Olympics Flame of Hope to the opening ceremonies of the Special Olympic competitors. And whereas Cody Pierce of Pittsburgh New Hope Bulldog was one of 10 athletes selected worldwide to carry the Flame of Hope on the final leg of the torch run for the 2015 Special Olympics World Summer Games held from July 25th through August 2nd in Los Angeles, California. And whereas while carrying the Flame of Hope across the state of California, Cody helped to spread awareness for Special Olympics athletes around the world. Now, therefore, I, Chuck Mansell, Mayor of the City of Pittsburg, Kansas, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, August 11, 2015, as Cody Pierce Day in Pittsburgh, and call upon all citizens to congratulate Cody on his many accomplishments and wish him continued success. I can say a few words.
Yes. This is amazing, and I really had a great time, and I can't thank John Lair enough for asking John Newman to recommend me for the final leg torch run. He has truly made our community and New Hope grow, and we learn a lot from him and all the greatness that we do, and it's just great. And we train very hard for this, and I appreciate all that he does, and for all that you that have worked hard time and effort to give donations to our Special Olympics. It really means a lot to me, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Last proclamation. Whereas July 25th through August 2nd, 2015, approximately 6,500 Special Olympic athletes from 165 countries descended upon Los Angeles, California, to show the true meaning of courage, joy, and determination. And whereas these Special Olympics World Summer Games provided a stage for Special Olympic athletes to demonstrate their courage, determination, and spirit of sportsmanship. And whereas John M. Lair was selected to serve as the 2015 powerlifting head coach at the 2015 Special Olympics World Summer Games, and whereas for more than 21 years, John has coached Special Olympic athletes and is a certified coach in 16 different year-round team and individual sports. Whereas under John's leadership, Chevy Peters of New Hope Bulldog achieved world champion status at the 2015 Special Olympic World Summer Games as a powerlifter. Now, therefore, I, Chuck Mansell, Mayor of the City of Pittsburg, Kansas, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, August 11, 2015, as John M. Lair Day in Pittsburgh, and call upon the citizens of Pittsburgh to join in congratulating John on his numerous accomplishments. Congratulations.
I just want to thank everybody for all their support. Chevy and Cody have had an outstanding year. It started with both of them winning a national championship last year in New Jersey, and it's flown over to this year. So we thank the community for the great support we've had, and we truly appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm Sergeant Chris Moore with the Pittsburgh Police Department. I'm the Southeast Kansas Regional Coordinator for the Law Enforcement Torch Run. Our job as law enforcement officers is to raise money and awareness for Special Olympics. So I get to spend time with these guys all the time. So when you see us jumping into the cold pool in February when we're cutting ice out or we're running the torch down Broadway, that's what we're doing. The Pittsburgh Police Department has a couple little awards, and the Pittsburgh Fire Department has an award for Chevy. And first off, I'll get Cody up here. Cody got to run the final leg of the Law Enforcement Torch Run, like the proclamation said. Cody, I got emails, phone calls, text messages, video chat from officers from all over the world calling me saying, "What'd you guys do to this kid? He's the most polite kid we've ever met." One of them even called and said, "Can you please call Cody and tell him that this is about him, not about us? He won't eat first. Let the ladies go first." And we give the ladies were even calling me saying, "Tell him to go first and let us eat." So we are very proud to have Cody as a Special Olympic athlete, and I was very proud as a law enforcement officer to him represent the torch run and Kansas, Pittsburgh, in LA. And he now has friends that are police officers from all over the world, and he's got a box of goodies, I'm sure, that he had to send home from police officers from all across the world. So just as a token to us, we're going to get, we've given, Chevy and Cody both have a lot of Pittsburgh police memorabilia, but we want to give them some more. So we have a little token appreciation for you on what you did. Good job, buddy. All right, come here, Chevy. All right, Chevy becoming a world champion. Got with the chief and I got with the city manager, and we were all trying to decide what we should do, and we wanted to make this homecoming very big for Chevy and his homecoming. So Chevy took the Citizens Academy this year. He spent every Thursday with me for 9 weeks, learning all about police work, got to drive my patrol car, got to shoot my guns, got to do all that kind of stuff, and was amazing during the time. So we decided that in doing that, becoming a world champion, that we're going to make Chevy an honorary Pittsburgh police officer. And the plaque reads, Pittsburgh Police Department Honorary Police Officer Chevy Peters. The Pittsburgh Police Department is proud to award and recognize Chevy Peters for his outstanding perseverance and dedication to become a world champion powerlifter. And the fire department's got one more.
Good evening. I'm Mike Simons, Fire Chief here in Pittsburgh. And, you know, in today's society, there's a lot of words that go along with firefighters and with the law enforcement and with the military. I mean, you hear words like honor and duty, dedication, and even bravery and even heroes. And to my opinion, Chevy demonstrates those exact traits as we do. And not just because he won medals, but also because he does this in his every day in his life. I'm sure John can see that. One thing about the fire department, which some people might not know, is that a lot of our equipment has an end-of-life date. And what that means is at a certain time it becomes decommissioned. Specifically, our helmets are that way. And at that point, the firefighters are able to take that helmet home and use it in their personal collection. Most of the times it ends up with the wife, or it ends up with the children. Well, shortly after Chevy got back, one of my firefighters came to me and he said, Chief, I want Chevy to have my helmet, my decommissioned helmet. And he said it's just the right thing to do. So with that said, I'd like to present Chevy with a firefighter helmet with the Pittsburgh shield, and on the back, show him the back, his name.
All All right, we got one more thing for Chevy and Cody. We, as Pittsburgh, you know, this community, we all get together and we work together. And so last week, I was driving on patrol, and I drove by the stadium, and I went, I know who I'm going to go talk to. So if Coach Tim Beck could come up here for just a second.
Thank you, Sergeant Moore. Is it on?
Yeah, it's on.
Well, first of all, Coach Lair, I want to tell you congratulations, and I just want you to consider if you can get our guys as strong as you've got Chevy, then you're hired. The only catch is you got to share an office with Coach Garman. So, okay. But on behalf of the Pittsburg State University football team, we want to tell all three of you congratulations. And you know, we're so honored, our community's so honored to, and our football team to see what both of you have done. So on behalf, we would like to give both of you an autographed football with our captains who have signed it, okay? And then we'd also like to tell you that you know, for our first game, we're going to make both of you honorary team captains, and we'd like you to be on the sideline. We'd like you to come in the locker room, and boy, I tell you what, that Chevy, that last deadlift was pretty inspiring. So if you can get our players that inspired right before the game, I'd really appreciate it. Okay? Okay. All right.
I just want to say one quick little thing before you guys take off. We get to see a lot of proclamations, but wow, thank you so much for sharing it with the five of us and the two that are listening on the phone. That was really nice. And Cody, don't ever underestimate the power of being polite everywhere. Don't let them tell you not to be polite. And Chevy, you don't know this, but I knew you when you were a baby, and you touched 2 communities when you were born, and you continue to touch communities. And we're all very lucky to have been part of that. Thanks for being here.
All right. I'll open the meeting to public input. Is there anybody that wishes to speak before the commission on any topic? Come forward, state your name and address. All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public input portion of the meeting tonight and move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed for discussion? Seeing none, is there
on the phone?
Roll call vote?
Just give them a second. It takes a little
Oh,
delay
okay.
on the phone. So
Michael and Jeremy, are there any items on the consent agenda that you would like removed for discussion?
None for me. No, sir.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion to approve?
Roll call vote.
Oh, roll call vote.
Still need motion.
We need a motion?
Motion.
Okay.
Motion and second, yeah.
Do we have a motion and a second?
We had it, yeah.
We do. Roll call vote.
Gray,
Michael?
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ketterman,
Aye.
Munsell,
Aye.
Mernan.
Aye.
We have scheduled a public hearing tonight on the proposed 2016 budget. The City of Pittsburgh advertised for a public hearing to be held on August 11, 2015 at the City Commission meeting commencing at 5:30 p.m. in the City Commission room, located in the Law Enforcement Center, 201 North Pine, for the purpose of hearing and answering questions related to the proposed 2016 budget. I open. Go ahead, James.
I was just going to tell you, state that this is a Kansas budget law requirement that we have open a budget public hearing, and we
Thank you.
proceed after that.
I open the floor for a public hearing on the proposed 2016 budget. Anyone would like to come forward, ask some questions, or have concerns, please do so. Seeing none, I close this portion of the public hearing on the proposed 2016 budget.
Okay, Mayor and City Commissioners, I advertised in the paper the public hearing for this hearing, and as requested at the last meeting, we lowered the mill levy on the proposed budget by 2 mills so that the mill levy would stay the same as it was in 2015. And so, if you all agree, also after the meeting, all we need to do is have all 5 of you, or all 3 of you, sign the budget document so I can get it ready to send to the state of Kansas.
We need to move and approve it, or just?
No, we don't need to take any more action. You voted on it last time. But I do want to say thank you for all your efforts this year. As you know, the budget process is probably the biggest thing we work on, and it takes up the most time for sure. So staff, commission, appreciate your time, and we'll do it again next year.
Thank you.
We have a special presentation tonight. Item A, waste load allocation, Cow Creek. Dr. John H. Bailey will provide an update on the review of the Cow Creek total maximum daily load for total phosphorus.
Mayor, Commissioners, we are constantly in contact with KDH&E and every other state agency, making sure that we do things right. It came to our attention that KDH&E was in the process of recommending some changes and was having a public hearing on a topic that was way over my head, and luckily Dr. Bailey works here, so it was not over his head. And we reached out to an expert or two to help us figure out exactly where we were. This had an implication of a multi-million-dollar impact on the taxpayers of Pittsburgh, so we've taken a long look at it. There's good news at the end of the tunnel, but we thought it deserved some time up here in front of the cameras and in front of you so you can answer any questions and know exactly where we stand. So with that, Dr. Bailey, it's all yours.
Thank you, Darren. Let me see if I can't get organized here. The state of Kansas uses a process called total maximum daily loads to help set water quality standards for a wastewater treatment plant. I'm going to let John Metzler, who is with CH2M Hill, explain briefly what a total maximum daily load is. A little bit of history on John. John was chief engineer for the Johnson County Main Sewer Districts, which is one of the largest public utilities in the state. And since then, he has joined CH2M Hill, an internationally known environmental consultant. And John's expertise is exactly this, water quality standards. So with that, John, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about waste load allocations and how they come into play.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here tonight to explain this process to you. It's also, by the way, an honor to work for John Bailey again. Back in 1975 when I started in this field, John was my first boss and a real inspiration to me over the years. So it's great to work for him again. The a total maximum daily load process is really a process that's called for under the Federal Clean Water Act and enforced by EPA and delegated to the states to actually do the heavy lifting of developing these total maximum daily loads. And the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, or KDHE, I'll say KDHE a lot tonight, developed this total maximum daily load for Cow Creek. You can see on the map there's a map showing Cow Creek. And the purpose of this, it's basically about a 50-page report that outlines the things that you see here, the pollutants that are causing water quality impairments, meaning how is it hurting, how are these pollutants hurting the streams. It identifies the levels of reduction in these pollutants that would return the stream to a good condition, and identifies the corrective actions, including waste load allocations, which is the key part, where they basically assign to the various dischargers in the watershed, and there's a number here. There's Frontenac and Arma and Pittsburg, and basically dictates to them what can be in their effluent. And I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on my presentation, how that impacts you all. It also has provisions for monitoring the stream in the future and for possible revisions to the TMDL in future years. As Darren said, we got notification that KDHE had developed a TMDL for Cow Creek, which will impact the city of Pittsburgh. Representatives from the city attended that public hearing and requested, this was actually pretty critical because they had a very short time frame for submitting written comments, and we were able to get a 30-day extension on those comments. The TMDL itself required a 1.5 milligram per liter of concentration of phosphorus be in the effluent of your wastewater treatment plant. That's what the NPDES permit is there. An NPDES permit is essentially a license to discharge to the stream. KDHE issues that, but it's under the Federal Clean Water Act with close supervision by EPA. Phosphorus is of concern because, as you know, there's phosphorus and nitrogen in the fertilizer you put on lawns, and it makes your grass grow greener. Well, if you put phosphorus and nitrogen in the stream, it makes algae and aquatic weeds, like the ones on my tie, grow in the stream, and that harms the stream, particularly all of the biological, like the fish, all the way down to the insects that are in a stream. This TMDL called for very stringent limits, 1.5 milligrams per liter in phase 1 and 0.5 milligrams per liter in phase 2. Your plant currently is discharging around 6 milligrams per liter, so this is a big change. The 0.5 milligrams per liter is really the best that technology can do these days. We call it limits of technology, and it's very expensive. I think you have a report on file from PEC that identified about a $28 million cost to reach that 0.5 milligram per liter limit. Yes, $25 million. And our firm was engaged to review this TMDL, and our expert in Washington, D.C. and I worked together to develop comments that were sent to KDHE. And some of the key conclusions of our evaluation was, the first, we found that there was no current water quality sampling of the health of Cow Creek. And these TMDLs are designed to try to find a correlation between the damage to the stream and the pollutant, and they couldn't do that in this analysis, and we identified that. They kind of arbitrarily said, well, the 25% level in nearby watersheds is a good target, and that's what we'll go after. Another issue we found under the second bullet is called equity, basically. The other treatment facilities in your watershed need to be treated the same as you, and they were requiring more stringent limits from the city of Pittsburgh than they were some of the nearby dischargers, and it looked like some of those discharges couldn't even meet the more relaxed numbers that were in the TMDL. An important point here is on the third item. John made us aware of mine drainage, coal mine drainage that was entering the creek upstream of the state's monitoring station on that stream, and they didn't include any discussion of that, and it looked to us in our site visit that it could have a significant impact on the stream. And the data that they do have available to them is over 30 years old. And finally, EPA guidance does have provision for taking into account the economic status of those that have to pay for these wastewater treatment plant improvements to meet these standards called for in these TMDLs. So we've had a meeting in this last slide. We had a meeting with KDHE in July, and had quite a vigorous discussion with KDHE representatives about the TMDL and where to go forward. And basically, these 5 points here kind of outline the conclusions that we came to in the meeting. And I would say it was a very positive outcome for the city of Pittsburgh. The KDHE folks were more than willing to work with us. I think that the ability to identify that there were some weaknesses in the TMDL made them a lot easier to work with on this. And so what they agreed to first was to rewrite the TMDL and publish it later this year. and that the TMDL would no longer call for you to meet 1.5 milligrams per liter or 0.5 milligrams per liter in the phase 2 at this point. They will reissue your permit, the NPDES permit, again, your license to discharge to the stream would include the current total phosphorus goals that you have in your current permit. So it's your status quo. This is good news, because in 2018 they were going to impose this 1.5 milligram per liter limit. And the goals are different from a limit. They're not enforceable. It's something that the city should make some effort to try to achieve, go from 6 to 1.5, but it is not a enforceable limit that KDHE can take you to court on. Then these permits get issued every 5 years. That's why 2018 shows up here. Your 2013 permit includes these same phosphorus goals. But in 2023, they're going to collect more data between now and 2023 and redo the TMDL. And that permit may include limits for phosphorus and a schedule of compliance to implement biological nutrient removal. It's a type of treatment technique that could be added to your existing plant to meet those requirements. And it would also, that schedule of compliance would probably give you a 5-year period to build those improvements. So maybe to sort of boil these two changes to its essence, instead of having to build a plant, expand or upgrade by 2023, your worst case scenario now is 2028. And throughout this whole process, and the projection is that in 2028 they would reissue the permit, keep those limits in place, but the city may be required to do some study on the receiving stream to see if those improvements actually will improve stream water quality. The final point, and we spent a lot of time discussing this, and we know it's a big deal for the city, is that KDHE pledged to assist the city in seeking assistance from the Department of Interior to find a solution to the coal mine issues underlying the city, and that we felt like that was a good step forward. And John actually came up with a really clever idea to combine treatment of wet weather flows from the wastewater treatment plant and the drainage from the mine shafts in a single artificial wetlands treatment system. And KDHE seemed pretty open to that idea. John?
Thank you, John. You presented all my 4 slides. Appreciate it.
Nice work.
Yeah. I think it's really important, this last point. We have a window of time, is what it boils down to, where we can work with the Department of Interior. Pittsburgh's been blessed with mine shafts underneath it, and no one has really talked about it. It's the elephant in the room. It's time to deal with it. It's going to have to require federal money because it's such a large undertaking. And with that, in combination with TMDL, we really don't know what the levels of phosphorus and mine shafts are doing to our system. We do know that phosphorus is contained about 13 parts per million in the mine shaft water, and we know it's impacting our system. So we have a window of time where to look at our discharges and see if we can find where the phosphorus is coming from. We have a window of time here to work with the Department of Interior to try to find some long-term solutions. So that's our undertaking. We've also been looking at our wastewater treatment plant dying to go through and, if you will, construct a mass balance of that treatment plant, where phosphorus is, where it goes, how much is removed, where it's removed, and we're trying to identify that in the treatment plant. So the next 10 or 15 years, we have a real challenge ahead of us. So I know this is a very complicated issue. It's not made simple by KDHE nor EPA, but if you have any questions, we're more than willing to try to answer those.
That last part, what you just said about identifying where it's removed, and you mean within our system?
In our treatment plant, right now we've got a study going on looking at phosphorus, every point, anaerobic digestion, biological, so on and so forth. And just trying to see when phosphorus comes in, where does it end up in our treatment plant? Does it end up in the sludge? Does it end up in the effluent? Is it so on and so forth? And then we're going to go back in the collection system itself and look at each of the dischargers to see Our phosphorus runs about 10 or 11 parts per million, and it really ought to be 5 or 6. That's what normal sewage is. So we've got some sources of phosphorus within their system. We needed to find whether it's individual contributors or whether it's coming from the mine shaft waters themselves. So it's a little bit of a mystery we're trying to unwind here.
When you say individual, are we right? Am I right in assuming a lot of it comes from, you mentioned fertilizing your lawn, but a lot of it comes from agriculture, big agriculture, right, up the stream somewhere?
Big agriculture is recognized, but the problem with big agriculture, it's very difficult to regulate. KH&E can regulate us because we have a point discharge. It can't regulate farmers very easily, and so that's always been a bone of contention. How do we deal with phosphorus from agricultural land? I think our biggest challenge is to look at industries internally to see whether or not we're getting excess phosphorus from our industries. If we can rule all that out, then it really comes down to mine shaft waters, and the regulatory agencies and the Department of Interior have to recognize what a big problem it is for us.
Would you explain the mine shaft, how that, I don't quite understand how that impacts.
When Pittsburgh's underlined by a lot of old diggings, if you will, for coal. They get water in them. Our stormwater system, we think, is interconnected with those mine shafts, and so when we get a lot of rain, they fill up, and then they soak the top of the caverns, and then when the water level goes back down, it pulls that down, and so we pull the support out from underneath our sewer system. And in the process, it opens up gaps in the sewer system, and then that water starts to enter the sewer system directly. So when we see these extremely high flows in our wastewater system, we think it's caused by the mine shafts underneath the community. And then that water also contains very high phosphorus. So if we're asked to remove that phosphorus, it's a task that can't be accomplished by ourselves. That's why the Department of Interior and the Kansas Department of Health and Environment and EPA have to get involved to help us solve this problem.
What's the next step for that happening?
I think we need to start communications with the Department of Interior and see if we can't get at least some studies start going, put in some sampling points and measure depths in the mine shafts and how that ties to precipitation or lack of precipitation, and try to construct a picture of the hydraulics of those things down there to try to get our hands around it. It's an extremely intriguing problem that we haven't really got resolved yet, but we're beginning.
And locally, who represents the Department of Interior, or what agency would?
They're out of Tulsa. The Department of Interior local office is in Tulsa, and we've had them down here once, but it's been about 4 years ago, and they just walked away shaking their heads. But you know, that's not going to catch it. They've got to be engaged.
Further questions for John? Jeremy, Michael, do you have any questions?
Thanks for shining good science on
You're
bad
welcome.
science.
Thank you, John.
It's always a good idea.
Good job, you guys. Thanks.
Special presentation, South Rouse Trail Project. Trans System Corporation will provide proposed plans for the South Rouse Trail Project and will seek approval to move forward with the project.
Mayor and Commissioners, a year ago tomorrow, you passed a, I don't think it was unanimous, but a majority of you authorized us to go out and get a state grant for South Rouse Trail, which we did in the past year.
We just lost somebody on the phone.
Who's still there?
Jeremy, are they? Michael?
Sorry, Michael's still here.
Jeremy?
It kicked me off for a second. I'm back.
All right.
So anyway, a year ago tomorrow, we authorized the staff to go out and get this state grant, which we did. We needed to raise some private money for it, which we did. At that meeting, the request was made by the commission, once we've hired a design team to come in and design this, before it goes on to construction, would they bring it back, do some public, have some public meetings, and then present it back to the commission for your consideration. So that's where we are today. With that, we have Trans Systems here. Bill, take it away.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce two members from Trans Systems that we've been working with on a regular basis on this project. Sean Turner, who's out of the Independence office, and then also we have Michael Bailey, who's in the Wichita office. Both of those were with us at a public meeting that we held here last month, and we'd like to turn it over to them and let them walk you through the meeting that we had and walk through the plans, and then we can move forward with your approval with gaining right away for the trail. Sean, Michael.
Thank you, Bill. And first, we appreciate the opportunity to serve the city of Pittsburgh on this project. The type of public meeting we had at Via Christi on July 16th was really an open house style meeting. We had different stations set up for the public to come in. Those along the trail were notified by letter. Many people came. We had stations set up with these boards on them that I'm going to run through, and engineers and city staff present that could answer questions and take their comments on the project. The first board, as you can see, was really just a summary of the trail project, where the money was coming from, and really just kind of laid the groundwork for other stations in our meeting. The second one really contained the bulk, or the most important part of it. It contained more of a layman's view of some cross sections to help people understand what we were doing. The third station, we got into a discussion of the type of easements that may or may not be required at the property. And the fourth station really got into the schedule for the project. As you can see where we're at right now, it's a little hard to read on the screen, but should be in the right-of-way acquisition portion of this, where we obtain what easements are required and finish the plans, and it's scheduled for a bidding in January. We also at the public hearing, we had plans set up where the public could ask our designers, which our design effort is led by Michael Bailey, ask them any questions regarding impacts on their property. We gathered their input and really tried to adjust the plans as best we could for any of their concerns. So to run through the plans, I'll turn it over to Michael.
What you see on the screen and what you have in front of you is, this is the bulk of the plans. This is the what we call the plan and profile. The profile on the bottom of the screen in your sheets, that's based on the west side of the trail. So that would be kind of the high edge. From there, it'll be your cross slope leading down to the existing ditch. And as you know, the trail starts at Amber Drive, right adjacent to Commissioner Gray's house. It's the first one to the north of Amber Drive there. It is a 10-foot trail. You got one? The trail on the west side is 10 foot the entire length from Amber Drive to Centennial. As you'll see on the west side of Rouse, there are existing sidewalks that come out of the subdivisions, and we have, in discussions with city staff, connected those to ramps crossing the side streets, and there will be crossings that cross Rouse and tie it into the trail as we go further north. If you have any questions as we go, as we go through the sheets, we can discuss those as well. As we go north, you can see one of the crossings. I think we have two mid-block crossings where they collect the people on the east side of the subdivisions to the 10-foot trail on the west side of the road. Pretty much the same. Early on in design, the city has asked us to keep the trail off right away to minimize right away easements needed, or any permanent right away that we would need. So the majority of the trail is 2 foot off the existing right away, off the west road right away. As we go north, it does vary a little bit, but 2 feet is the number where we don't have any grading onto the majority of the properties. As we go north, there are existing concrete rock flumes coming off properties going into the existing ditches. How we dealt with those is we're going to daylight a pipe on the west side of those to pick up that water, so we're not blocking any of that water, so it continues to drain into the existing ditch. So there'll be a pipe that goes under the trail, and you can see those. There's two on this existing sheet here. As we go north, pretty much the same thing. There are a couple more of the rock flumes with the new pipes that will be installed with the project. through this section. This is the section that does have the berm with the trees on it. There's been many discussions between Bill and Sean and the property owners of how we, mitigate that. Is that something we do with the project when it's constructed, or something we, pay them to do outside the project? So that's still an ongoing process and something we'll deal with before and figure out before the project goes to letting. The Shattuck property is one of the first properties where we will be replacing the driveway with this project. Right now it's kind of a rock driveway, but to meet ADA grades, we will be replacing that at a full concrete drive. And we had many of those discussions at the public meeting of, reasons why we were or weren't replacing the driveway. There were some driveways added where people would like their driveway added, so we made those changes to the plans. At the mid-block point there, you can also see that's the second mid-block crossing. This ties in the neighborhood to the north. We chose 2 mid-block crossings, so there wasn't, 4 or 5 as you go down the trail. That's kind of the number in our initial meeting with the city, is so we didn't have multiple, 4 or 5 crossings. We consolidate that to 2, so there's, collect everybody from the subdivisions and cross them onto the trail, and they could go north to Centennial. Again, I know there's one drive here we're not replacing. It was replaced not too long ago. It's in very good condition. Some of these others, just to meet cross slope requirements for the trail, they were being replaced. So I think these next 4 are being replaced. As you can see, we're replacing, this will be a 6-foot sidewalk on this side, where this is the 10-foot trail on the west side of the road. As we approach this property, this is where your existing RCB crosses the road, where all your drainage comes down from the north and crosses to the east. What we plan to do in this section is create a concrete flume, because we have to leave the existing roadside ditch to collect all the water off the road. So we'll extend an RCB in the existing ditch, and there will be a handrail on the east side of the trail and grading on the west side of the trail to accommodate pedestrians there. Going further north, again, we're placing, there's a concrete flume in this area. We're replacing that with a pipe through that section as well. One of the things we've been working with, we've had several meetings with utility companies that are out there. We've dealt with AT&T, city water department. There's a few things that do have to be relocated, just not a whole lot. Some will be done with the project, such as the water stuff, AT&T, and any poles that need to be moved by Westar, or any other utilities like that will be removed or relocated prior to construction. And that's kind of a work in progress. We will have one more utility meeting coming up shortly. As we approach Centennial, we will be replacing this driveway as well, going into the medical lodges. And then we'll wrap around and tie into the proposed sidewalk and signal improvements that are currently proposed at Centennial. If there are any questions, we're open to answer any of those right now.
I had a couple citizens with some concerns on drainage, I think, mainly with their sump pumps and basement drainage. Will that affect the grade on their sump pump operation to get to the, I believe it goes to the ditch?
I know, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, Greg Harster and Sean met one evening. I think it's this property owner right here. I know the Lambs have 2 pipes coming out. Where their pipes come out are in the bottom of the ditch, and we'll be tying in at the top of the ditch, so it should go right into the trail. But that's something we're going to take a further look at to make sure that flows to the ditch like it does today.
So it won't affect?
No, it shouldn't affect anything.
I'm just curious, why the mid-block crossings? Why not just do 2 of them at already existing intersections?
With the way these intersections are kind of laid out, it made it a wider crossing for the pedestrians, because as you can see, kind of right here, how you kind of flare out as you go into the entrance on Mill Road. So in our early discussions, it was, this made it for a shorter crossing, less traffic. You weren't fighting traffic coming out of the subdivision. It was just kind of north-south traffic. So that was, some early discussions, we talked about, we did want to pick up these sidewalks that dead end currently and go nowhere, to tie them into the trail, and it was decided to, let's, create two mid-block crossings and not have a crossing at the intersection for the length. It would kind of create another conflict point for pedestrians with additional cars coming out of the subdivisions.
And another question, is the sidewalks on the east side, is that part of this, or are they already there?
No, that'll be an additional.
Is that still covered under the grant and the private funding? There's not going to be any city money used in any of that?
We visited with KDOT. We've already been through the field check with KDOT on these, and they've determined that that's a needed connecting point, so that can be included in authorized or eligible expenditures.
Did you say the trail would be 2 foot from the furthest easement?
From the west right-of-way line, it'll be 2 feet to the east. Yes.
And I understand why you place it there, because maybe future need for a 3-lane road, which I don't agree with, but that's not anything to be discussed on the trail. But so it's wherever the easement is in their front yard, it'll be 2 foot towards the east from
Yes. As you reach up, go up towards the medical lodges, the right-of-way, especially on this property, this unplatted property right here, it is jogs out 10 feet further, so there will be right-of-way through that section. So the proposed right-of-way line, it'll be on that right-of-way line, and there will be some at the medical lodges. Due to the location of sanitary sewer manholes, just things we had to kind of jog around. But other than that, everything is 2 feet off the residence property line. The other reason we can't move it a little further is, we have to tie into the existing ditch, and we can't make that slope go straight down. So it's to leave the ditch there and allow the water to still drain like it does today. It's kind of a necessary need there.
Jeremy, Michael, you got any questions?
None here, no. This is Michael. I don't have any questions per se. I do know that back when this was discussed last year, as Darren mentioned, I was one of the individuals who had requested that the design come back for approval by the commission. And I've had some time to talk not only to some of the engineering design folks who have helped us with this, but also the city staff. And I've also received one phone call from one of the landowners that was interested in deciding tonight. And I believe that the design team has put considerable amount of thought into the location of the trail. They have met and actually considered some of the concerns and recommendations that the landowners have along that area, including trying to accommodate needs for current landscaping, trees and drainage, etc. So I've decided that I will be in support of this design for this trail, and but I don't have any other questions. I've already addressed my questions with city staff and with the design team.
Have any questions, Jeremy?
None here, no.
All right. Are there any further questions? Thank you.
Do you need action?
Need a motion to approve the
Is there a motion to approve?
Wait, do we need action?
I think based on where you left it last time, it'd be appropriate if you could give us a vote on the design so we can move forward with construction.
I'd move to approve.
Second. There's been a motion to approve in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Next item.
All right, consider the following. A plat, Meadowbrook West Edition. The Planning and Zoning Commission, in its meeting on July 27, 2015, voted unanimously to recommend to the governing body for approval of the short form plat of Meadowbrook West Edition, located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Broadway and Centennial.
Mayor, Commissioners, we have with us tonight the owners of the property, the Meadowbrook, what we call Meadowbrook West Edition, and also the engineering firm that platted that. That plat is located, as you indicated, at the intersection of Centennial, which is this east-west connection, and Broadway is here. Orient you on the map. This is the bypass here, or at this point it becomes US 69. Actually, this is the mall property here. And they are looking at platting this area to the west of their unit, their business now. With that, I'll turn it over to PEC, who is the consulting engineering firm involved with that. And if you have any questions, you can ask them. If you have any, not, we'd look for approval of this plat.
Hello. We've submitted this plat. We believe it meets all the requirements of the city of Pittsburgh and the zoning. I don't know how much you guys have looked at it, but there's 3 lots, and the access is going to be provided through all of these lots by a separate document that I believe you guys have a copy of. So, do you have any questions?
Jeremy and Michael, do you have any questions on the Meadowbrook West Edition plat?
No questions from my end, Chuck.
All right.
None for me.
All right.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Moved to approve and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Emergency Solutions Grant. The City of Pittsburgh Housing and Community Development Department, in cooperation and partnership with Wesley House and Catholic Charities, is seeking government body approval and acceptance of Emergency Solutions Grant through the Kansas Housing Resource Corporation in the amount of $137,042 to assist families in the community who are about to experience homelessness for a grant period of July 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2016.
That's correct. Thank you, Commissioners. You may remember a couple of months ago you approved the submission of this application, and I wanted to speak with you tonight because the amount that KHRC has awarded to the city is slightly less, so it changed by a small amount the activities that we're going to do. This is still part of our Housing First model as a city, so this is still a collaborative effort to put families and individuals experiencing homelessness immediately into housing. In that, there's usually a gap period, and so some of this funding addresses that as well. The total amount that KHRC has awarded the city is $137,042. It does require a 100% match, which we have collected through in-kind donation of space, salary time, and volunteer time. So the total project is $274,084. Catholic Charities is going to, they had a homeless prevention amount reduced. So rather than serving 15 households, they're hoping to serve 12. It may be more depending upon the level of need, and that's with rental assistance, utility assistance, security, and moving costs, as well as paying a case manager quarter time. Then they were also awarded $60,000 in rapid rehousing, which would serve 31 households with the same services and the same level of case management. So it's a total of 43 households that would be served with homeless prevention and rapid rehousing money. Marcy Bender is here from Wesley House to speak about what Wesley House will do with the amount they were allocated.
Thank you, Becky. The amount that we have been allocated, we will hire a dedicated case manager. They will be a part-time, it'll be a part-time position that will serve, we're expecting roughly about 30 clients over a period of time, so that number could be higher, that number could be lower. We also, not through this grant, but through another grant, it'll allow us to build an emergency day shelter. So our homeless case manager will be there doing really intensive case management with those folks. Then the rest of the grant monies that we have been allocated of the $40,000, the rest of the other $20,000 will be used for general operations. Currently, when you come into Wesley House, you can take a shower and you can use laundry facilities. That grant will continue to support that. And then also while they are there utilizing the day shelter, they will be fed, possibly breakfast, definitely lunch. And so that's something that we are missing in our community and at Wesley House. So we're going to be able to provide that to our folks and have that intensive case management part, which is going to be huge for our city and for Wesley House and Catholic Charities.
That is a big deal. That is huge. Yes, there should be cartwheels somewhere.
That's exciting.
Big deal.
So we just wanted to touch base with you and let you know what was going to change since the amount was less than we asked for, and then we ask that you approve the acceptance of this, and I believe Tammy has some papers for you to sign if you choose to do so.
Thank you.
Any question?
Wonderful collaboration.
I don't have a question, but I just want to mirror what Monica had said, and thank you, Becky, for all of your awesome work bringing something like this that will help address homelessness and housing issues, which we've identified as a problem, and really addressing it in a very comprehensive way. That's awesome.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
And move to approve and second it. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Resolution number 1175, consideration of resolution number 1175, adopting and approving the proposed capital improvement program for the years 2016 to 2020. Jamie.
Mayor and City Commissioners, every year we plan on bringing you a 5-year capital improvements plan, and we brought one to you last year, and it was approved. And at the time, we said we would revisit it every year, and as the needs change for capital improvements that are on the radar for the city. This plan is for the years 2016 through 20. 2016 is balanced with the budget. Years 2017 through 20 are not fully balanced, but they're items that we think that we need to have as capital improvements. But they will move each year as new things come on. Some other ones might fall off. And what I'm asking tonight is that you approve this authorizing resolution to approve the 2016 to 20 capital improvements plan.
Questions for Jamie?
Can you point out what, I know I should know this, but what went on in 2020? Right, that's the last year out.
Yes.
What did we add in 2020 that was different?
I'm not sure I follow your question.
Yeah, I'm not saying it right. So we had a year drop off, and we picked up another year.
Right, we dropped off 15, and now we're adding 20.
And in 20, what are we doing differently or more than we were doing in 19, I guess is the question.
20 basically just has or continuation of water line replacements, street repairs, those types of things, since it's far out. But we know there's certain things that we know that are on the that need to be addressed in the next 5 years.
Okay.
And these were put together by, you know, the department heads that are responsible for each one of these divisions.
And how come, again, I know I should know this, but in 19, in the column that says 19 planned, I'm on page 86 of our agenda, which probably
Okay.
doesn't help you a bit, Jamie.
Which
You have to guess.
division is that?
Expenses versus resources page. It's like the total summary. So in 19, there is no bond, but
Yes.
in 2020, it's $2,150,000.
Because the way the plan is right now, we plan on having a bond issue in 2016,
Yes.
and one in 2018, and then one in 2020.
Okay, so it's just the timing of it.
It's the timing, so I can try to keep the bond mill rate approximately 10 mills.
Okay, thanks. I knew I should know that, I just
Okay.
couldn't make it work right there.
Jamie's a stickler, so he makes us, we don't get to put any more on until we retire some. So the plan
plan.
is every 2 years, keeping it at 10, we can just,
Okay, so
whatever,
that's why it's
whatever went
every other.
away,
I'm
we'll
with you.
reprogram
Okay.
it back in.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
No further questions? Michael and Jamie, do you have any questions for Michael and Jeremy, do you have any questions for Jamie?
No, sir. Clear.
Jamie, thank you.
I'll
Good
move to
job.
approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, you go ahead.
It's been moved and seconded to approve. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks for putting that together.
Sales tax elections. Consider the possible ballot wording. Shall a retailer sales tax in additional amount of 1/4% continue to be levied in the city of Pittsburg, Kansas, to take effect April 1st, 2016, with the proceeds therefrom to be used to pay for the maintenance and repair of city streets for a time period not to exceed 5 years from the date such additional sales tax is first collected, for a special election to be held on September 24th, 2015.
Mayor and city commissioners, on May 26, 2015, you voted unanimously to reauthorize this sales tax that had currently been in place for 4 years, and this would have been the 5th year. It was per state statute. Unfortunately, following those actions, the State Department of Revenue told us that, in their opinion, we needed to have an election to reauthorize the tax, so we started a discussion with them about that. And particularly, we had previously checked with the Attorney General. We thought we were in a good place. We reached out to the State Revisor. We reached out to the Kansas Secretary of Revenue, and we reached out to the League of Kansas Municipalities. With very little discussion from the League of Kansas Municipalities and the State Revisor, they basically said, we don't agree with you, and we interpret the statutes differently, which leads us to a discussion and, if you will, a chance to make arguments, but all that takes time. Basically, with the best intentions to save the taxpayers money, and due to the importance of the issue, the street sales tax, and the critical nature of it in the community, it's necessary for us to request that you take action now by putting the renewal of the existing sales tax on the ballot for the voters to consider. It's the only rock that we could possibly turn over later would be to get an AG's opinion, and I don't think, that would be any guarantee that it would come. And if it did come, it may say as little as the other 2 or 3 opinions that we've received. I think in the end it's interpretation. It's tough. But we need to get on with it. We were hoping to get September, I believe, 26th, 24th as election day. We've already talked to the county. This would be a special election. We think it serves several purposes. One, it's a chance to do it this year. The tax does not expire until the end of March next year, so it gives us plenty of time. And there's some other issues out there. The county's currently doing their budget. The school district has talked about an election in November or December, so we thought we could separate this out and get to it. It's within the allotted time that the county gives us to hold the election, and we'd sure like you to consider it today so we can get on with this. We're happy to answer any questions.
I just make a comment that the reason we as a commission decided to continue the sales tax is something we thought we could do legally, and come to find out we can't do that. But it is something that we desperately need. Also, the reason why we wanted to do it without an election is going to cost us, what is it, Darren, another $8,000 or $10,000 for this special election. And, you know, we thought what we was doing was right, and it would save the taxpayers money. Evidently, we have to do it. And I agree, we need to do it as soon as possible, and I'm in favor of it. Any other
I am
comments?
too. I just had, and I spoke with Darren about this, just, in my opinion, the way this reads, when you say shall the retailer sales tax in an additional amount, I think that word additional needs to be taken out of there. To me, that reads like we're trying to add another 0.25% on there. If we can do something that just says to continue the current 0.25% sales tax.
I actually had a similar concern. The word continue is in there, which suggests that it's already been done, but I think if the language could be made to make it clearer that this was an existing thing that was already voted in, and it's, we're simply continuing it after its expiration date.
Is that, Jeremy, if we take out additional, does that enough of a change and leave continue in to meet that need?
I think so.
Jeremy? Did you
Can
hear?
you say that again? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Jeremy, if we take out the word additional and leave continue in, does that meet the intent that you're trying to get through?
Would it be possible to make it even clearer, like say something about upon the expiration of the existing tax on March 31st?
I'm going to defer to Henry.
I mean, we do have an effective date of April 1, 2016. I think it's pretty clear. I don't have a problem with taking out the word additional, and we do have the word continue in the ballot question. I think if you take out those two places where it says additional and leave in the continue, I think that would be legally sufficient.
So, shall a retailer's sales tax
in the
amount of 0.25% continue to be levied in the city of Pittsburg, Kansas, to take effect April 1, process there and used to pay for the maintenance of. Where do you see continuous the second time, Henry?
Additional, the word additional.
Where do you see it the second time?
On down, Monica.
Pay for the maintenance.
This is the second.
I'm not seeing it either.
Oh, fourth line from what I'm reading, okay. I agree with Jeremy. I think it makes it sound like to take effect April 1. To take effect April 1. You're saying, Jeremy, you're wanting to ensure that folks know that it is a continued thing.
Correct. Yeah, my concern is someone coming into the ballot box who, say, doesn't have prior knowledge about this being an existing thing, sees it for the first time and says, oh, new taxes, and votes against it. I want to try and prevent that as much as possible and make it very clear that this is not a new thing. And I can understand that the word continue kind of suggests that, but I wonder if, I don't know, I want it to be very explicitly clear so someone can't make that mistake.
Yeah.
We're usually this is when I'd say we'll go work on it and just trust us. But since it's the ballot on the language on the ballot, we probably need to knock this out and make sure you guys are all.
Well, could it just say, shall the retailer sales tax for street maintenance repair continue to be levied in the city of Pittsburg in the amount of 0.25% for an additional 5 years. Could it just say something like that?
Or does it have to have an effective date?
It does have to have an effective date.
Well, yeah, but it's beginning April 1st or,
That's what it says now.
well, no, it's got that additional.
We've already decided to take the 2 additionals
Right.
out, I think.
I think you have to have the continue on it, or it
Yeah.
would seem like a new tax. It's just continuing. Wouldn't you agree, Jeremy, or?
Wait, so what are you saying? Say that again.
If you take continue out.
No, take
No, he's-
additional out.
Oh, leave it in?
No, he's not wanting to take the word continue out.
Oh, okay, I
He's-
understand.
He's saying that it almost, where it goes into April 1st, if prior to that, it's implying, yeah, you have to really be paying attention when you're reading it.
What if it just said, just bear with me,
Yeah.
shall a retailer's sales tax in the amount of 1/4% previously in effect from, in the beginning of the date of whatever it was, 2011 through April, or through May 31st, 2016, continue to be levied in the city of Pittsburg, Kansas to take effect, blah, blah, blah. Is that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that.
That would work. Thanks, yeah. I was winging it there, it wasn't very.
So that would be in the amount of 1/4%, and then insert
Right there.
the words,
Previously authorized from whatever the dates were, and then continue to be levied in the city and everything else.
continue to be levied. I like that.
And take out the 2 additionals.
I'm good with that too.
Tammy?
Okay, thank you.
Michael, you're all right with that?
Yes, sir, I'm good with that.
I don't know what he said, but.
He said
Yeah,
yes.
he's good.
All right, are we good?
I'd move to approve.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved to approve and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Pass. Are there any non-agenda reports and requests?
No, just want to say, thanks for recognizing Chevy. I know I don't need to thank you all. He means as much to you as he does to us, but it's a good time to be in Pittsburgh, and, you know, that's what it's all about, supporting each other and watching as people achieve things that are important to them and important to a lot of other people, celebrating it, and it was a good day.
It was.
That was really nice of the city staff to go to all that extra effort. I appreciate it.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Second.
Been a motion to adjourn and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are.